Hey, it's Expat Rebel Chris here, and welcome back to my channel, Expat Rebel. And my kitchen renovation here in Yucatan, Mexico is finally complete. I'm in my kitchenware. I actually do wear a hat and an apron. I'm in the kitchen, so I'm wearing that, but let me give you a little bit of a tour of the renovation. I've been leading a bunch of videos, vlogs up to this point. This renovation took longer than the outside pool and steam room and pool house, and salt water treatment house, and everything outside, basically, the solar panels, all that. This kitchen renovation took 8 months. So the kitchen, when we bought this house here in Yucatan, and we couldn't get rid of the smell. And so we literally ripped it out within about a week and didn't do anything. They have a kitchen downstairs in what we call the casita. So that was fine, but we wanted one up here in the main living room area, of course. We did that after outside was done because it was just too many things going on and we couldn't project manage it all at the same time. So once we did it, from start to finish, it took 8 months. Now, there was a lot of wait time in that, to say the least. Let me show you what happened. So the countertop here is a exotic thing from Brazil. We did buy this in Merida. It's very nice, and we actually bought two of these for everything. We had more than we really needed, so we added front panel things to it and all that. So they did this pretty quickly, actually, maybe a couple months or something at the most, but there was no cabinets at all, no stove, nothing. But once we had this done, we had the stove installed. Now, the stove is a Mabe, IO Mabe, which is a good brand. It's a pro consumer level. This is the company, it's Mexican, that makes GE products. So a lot of the GE appliances sold in the US are actually made here in Mexico. It's just when they cross the border, they slap a GE label on it. As you can see, everything's in English. And this we bought at a Sears. Sears is actually really big here, growing in Mexico. I know it's practically gone in the US, but here it's growing. And we just walked in and this was actually on sale. So we bought it. The cabinets took longer, as you can see, and they took 3 trips to install them. And sometimes they come out and just install like this end here, and that's it, this part, and then not come back for 2 months. That happened 3 different times. And finally, as you can see, they had it completely done. This is custom made. We actually went through the kitchen designer to figure all this out. Couple of things that are different is we don't have our refrigerator in the kitchen, and that's because of me. I had a seizure and a very big one, almost didn't survive. And it's gotten a little bit better, but since I'm reactive to electronic devices, and we actually stayed in a home because we rented almost 30 different places here in the Yucatan Peninsula here in Mexico before we finally bought a place. And one place I didn't have a problem with the kitchen, and another place I literally couldn't stay in it for 2 minutes before passing out. And that was because usually of the refrigerator. The refrigerator comes out to emit, some of them emit a lot of EMF, which does affect me. And this refrigerator, we actually stuck in the pantry. Of course, we did meter it beforehand. It's an LG, and we got this from someone off of Facebook Marketplace, actually. It is new though. But we metered it and it's fine. It was a chore to get it upstairs once because it's so big, it doesn't fit through the doors. They had to come through this area. And it took about 4 really strong guys to lift it up with ropes from the ground floor up and into here. Same with the stove. I had lots of hard labor to get it up here. The manufacturer, Mabe, actually came out and installed it. They hooked it up, made sure it all worked and whatnot. And it's a great stove, pretty fancy. The stove, especially the oven part, actually, stove is pretty standard here, but the oven is not. Most kitchens that we rented and most houses that we rented, houses and condos, roughly 30 of them before we finally settled here. And most of them, almost all of them, I think maybe 2 of them actually had an oven. Not very common. Stovetop, yes, but an oven, no, big no. So that's nice. Now, only one place had a dishwasher and it didn't work. And we had back and forth with the maintenance guy on it quite a bit. Dishwasher here is a little bit difficult. At least this area of Mexico, you need a salt system to get it not to be so hard, get it to be soft water, and then go through a filter and before it really will work because it just clogs up immediately. In fact, one place we moved into, the dishwasher was used once, and I tried to use it, and the second time, and it just didn't work at all. I never could get it to work right. And it was a fancy brand from Spain. On top of it, a lot of Spanish products are sold here in Mexico, and it just didn't work because they didn't have soft water. They had hard water, which is very common in the peninsula. Actually, because of the cenotes, the water is a bit hard. So having a salt softener system is recommended. It does help. And but we didn't do the dishwasher. Actually have to do our own dishes by hand. We do have a maid that helps on that, but she's not here every day. She was today though. That's why I'm doing a video to show it off. It's pretty nice. So all these cabinets were handmade. A kitchen designer actually does them in his shop. We got these handles in the US, actually, and these as well, these little knobs. We found out going through a lot of shops in Merida that this type of hardware is actually hard to find. There's not a lot of choices. And it became easier to shop on Amazon US or even Hobby Lobby. I think these are for Hobby Lobby, and order them and then import them in, or if someone's visiting, they can come down and bring down and whatnot. We found that just using an import company was actually easier and faster, especially this was happening during the pandemic. No one wanted to travel and visit us. So that's what we did. We knew an import company that would bring it in. And so we did that. And we actually got this Instapot. My mom recommended it at Costco. So Costco is in Merida. A lot of these big Mexican cities, they have it all. They got all the products you need. They got even fancy kitchen places. Like there's German goods. And we bought our kitchen sink. This is a kitchen sink made in Bavaria, Germany. It's a quartz composite. Don't really understand that, but we got it on sale actually at a German kitchen design firm in Merida. We liked this style, so we were looking for this. We actually got this at Costco. It was the best price and it was pretty good. Our Costco is the first place we go to for a lot of things because they cater to foreigners like me and rich Meridans who really do want quality. In Mexico, you can find goods that wouldn't be sold in the US because the quality is so low. Most of those goods are made in China, but they just don't import them into the US because no store front would sell it. They're so poor quality, they break them within a week. So we've bought some things like that before we learned all this. And so we actually go for quality stuff and all the way down to trash bags. We get the best trash bags we can get, which I believe is also at Costco. We got a lot of organic food, produce at Costco as well. So we like Costco, our first place to go to before we go to a regular grocery store. Nice grocery store, but kind of a regular one for everything else that we couldn't get at Costco. So that's my first. We even got these little drying pads. They're kind of thick and cushy to dry things. And then when we're done drying it and we put it back up everywhere, we then store it right here. So all these cabinets are very nice quality. They do that type of shut thing. The spice racks, we have 2 of them. Got one for cooking stuff, which we're just starting to fill in. But we got to hit the grocery store to get some more spices. Now they have room for it. And then we got one just for drinks, cacao drinks that we do every day, and coffee, and some of my teas are here, plus some flavoring things that we do are on this second spice rack. We use that quite a bit as well. We got this hood here, which is a German brand quite a few German things sold here. And it was, again, on sale at Sears. The same time we got the stove oven thing, actually, and got there at Sears. And we had that installed later when the kitchen people were doing it. Now, there is a couple of things that aren't quite done. We're going to have lights under here. In fact, the guy that was going to do that was going to come today, but couldn't make it. We're going to reschedule him to put that in. And one of the other things that isn't quite done is a soap dispenser. We have an automatic soap dispenser. It is going to come out of this, but we're looking for a hose to hook it up to a container, which is, of course, underneath the sink. And that's actually been hard to find here in Mexico. So we haven't quite figured that out. We did buy that, though, in the U.S. and had it imported. We know an import company that can handle all the logistics, that can do that. Also, if you order things on Amazon U.S. and just tell them to ship it here, a lot of things they will. Not everything. There's some things that they won't ship to Mexico, like my UPS battery for my backup system for power. Just when the power goes out here, we have a solar system, which is quite nice. But for some of the electronics that when the power goes out and it switches over to solar, it isn't quite fast enough and they reboot. So I have some UPSs where I plug those things into it so that we don't have that problem. This works for less than a second before the solar system kicks in, but it does help to make sure that I don't have any hard drives go offline and I don't have any computers reboot. Laptops are fine, but I do actually have a server. And I don't want it to reboot, so I plug it into a UPS. In fact, I got my Apple TV and my TV plugged into it. So when the power flips over to solar, I don't have a clue. And my movie keeps streaming. I got all the routers plugged into UPSs as well, except for one. I have a mesh network. I don't care about that one. If it goes offline, it doesn't affect anything, really. And when it power switches, I literally don't lose internet either. It's fantastic. The only thing I really notice is the air conditioning goes out. Our solar system can't handle the air conditioning. The air conditioners use a lot of power, and we have very big air conditioners, oversized ones that are actually bigger than we need just in case we get too hot. But we live on the beach here in Yucatán, Mexico. It actually doesn't get as hot as Merida. Merida definitely gets hotter. Here, pretty even. It does cool off in the winter where we have the windows open most of the time because it's very pleasant. And of course, lately at night, this is at the end of December when this was recorded, it actually gets a little chilly and we have to break out the blankets, which is nice because we don't have that a lot. Usually we have the air conditioning on during a lot of the summer months. So that's the kitchen. I'm so glad that is basically finished, just some final touches, and we're getting little organizers and still moving things around in the cabinets to figure out what we like. But the kitchen designer is done. And that's the end of all our renovations on the house. Everything I've been vlogging about for over a year now is done. We're not going to be doing anything else except for gardening, which is, of course, an ongoing thing. In fact, we just had a kind of a windstorm and the temperature dipped and whatnot. I actually lost a couple of plants. I'm going to do a video about that because we learned that even though it didn't get anywhere close to freezing, 19 degrees Celsius, it's a little over mid 60s Fahrenheit, but with the wind, we actually lost a couple of, they got burned, frozen, and they actually turned black. And we had some other ones where just the tips happened. They'll be fine, but there's 2 plants that didn't make it at all, which we're a little surprised about because we didn't think that was going to happen, especially our family and friends are complaining about the blizzard, worst one in almost 50 years and everything. And we're just sitting here going, well, it doesn't really affect us. And it actually did. We lost a couple of plants. That's it, though. And thank goodness. And then the windstorm left, and we're now back to sunny weather as we usually have. So if you're interested in more about living in Mexico or being an expat, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in a weekly newsletter about all things expat and where you want to go over to expatrebel.com and get on the weekly newsletter. Hope you guys found a lot of useful information in this video. You can have a custom design kitchen done and done really nicely, all custom cabinet work and just this. We just marvel that we found this at a price that we could afford because it just really goes with the style of the house and it being on the beach. We have a lot of green and turquoise colors scheme throughout the house, as you can tell with the front door there. And this really matches everything. And then we picked the knobs and even this one to match it all. And that's where we got everything. And thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.